And probably if the dog has rabies, he will also get the rabies. And this is the kind of infrastructure we have in India. And we as a management graduates, we are always looking at, not only you, when I go and interact with IIMs, we talk about investment banking. We talk about some high fundamentals. But the basic stuffs require your attention. My dear friends, the new India is not about you becoming an investment banker. The new India is not about you going global. The new India is about your global thoughts for local action. Your global thoughts for local action is what is required. It is the essence of the education. The education is about educating the uneducated. The essence of education is about educating the uneducated. Look at Loyola Institute of Business Administration. Today, this institution is creating a great leaders because there is somebody who visioned to create this institution. If somebody did not vision to create the institution in India, then think what could be the state of affairs of the education. So, behind every problem lies an opportunity. My good friend, Mr. C.K. Kumaravel, I used to interact with him. If you look at the C.K. Kumaravel, nothing but Mr. C.K. Ranganathan's brother. He's my good friend and my client also. And I used to interact with him. He's one of the best inspirers for entrepreneurs. I asked him, how did you become an entrepreneur? He said, my problems created me as an entrepreneur. Then next question, when you started this journey of entrepreneurship, what did you do? He said, actually, I had my loss, which I inherited from my previous business. It was my wife who thought how we can start up the business, and she set up some small shop in Kadar Nawaz Khan Road. And we started 4 to 5 shops. Then I surveyed and found in India, there is a requirement to start up saloons in the organized phase. Typically, if you look at saloons or the profession of that relates to a particular community in India. And I still remember vividly that in my younger days, what happened in my summer days, I tried to cut my hair. Maybe in first standard, I was just thinking, why should I go for a shop? Took a mirror and cut. And you know how I would have cut. That time my father scolded me. I was just interacting with C.K. Kumaravel and said, if my father would have allowed to cut my hair properly from that time itself, I would have become an entrepreneur, I would have become a competitor for you. This is the market we have. And today, I'm proud to say, Mr. C.K. Kumaravel has about 650 outlets, franchisee partners, and is expanding. And his vision is to actually ensure there should not be a concept of homemakers, but nation builders, that women are the catalyst. And today he is targeting the women, and women are self-empowered. And what he has addressed as a problem, if you look at it as a case study, I will take 3 lessons from him. What he did, he converted his challenge into an opportunity. And the idea which came from his own home, he now spread that across the nation. And the third important thing is, in this process of entrepreneurship, what he has done, the housewives or the homemakers today has become nation builders by contributing to the GDP of the nation. Because everybody runs an outlet and they're self-empowered. These are the ways you should learn. It is just not the story. It is a story of change maker. The champions of, you need to interact with the champions of change. In fact, I'm visiting the IIM Ranchi on February 10th. They called me to interact. While I was interacting with that student there, I asked him, do you have a center in your IIM where you talk about the country's problem, not political problems, please understand. Not political problem. When you talk about political problem, you are wasting your time. You need to talk about country's problem. What is the country's problem? Country's problem is about, today India has about 29 states and 7 union territories, and we need to actually talk about the problem. While you talk about the problem in an inspirational manner, then the mindset of entrepreneurship will come. And how does the mindset of entrepreneurship comes? It is not big fundamentals. When you feel for the poor, when you think there is something unorganized and you organized, it is all the starting point of entrepreneurship. And take it from me, my dear friends, for starting entrepreneurship, you need not have big capital. I was just interacting with the founder of the Viking, the Western Briefs. I asked him, how did you build this kind of an enterprise? And you didn't even cross your 10th standard. This was the question I placed before him. Nothing, Satya, and my grandmother gave the chain. I pledged the jewelry. I have started this company for 10,000 rupees. And today, Viking is a success story. And he employs thousands of people today. And second important story which I was also looking at, we all look at Infosys as a great example of entrepreneurship in the technology space. When I checked the story of the Infosys, it was actually Ms. Sudha Murthy who gave 10,000 rupees from Masala Box. And Masala Box are the best angel investors. The women are the best angel investor. And you know what? When you get money from the woman from home, you are more accountable. There can never be a default. There can never be a default because you have to come back to home to eat. And you will not get food if you don't pay and if you don't perform in the entrepreneurship. The best person to judge your entrepreneurship journey is the woman in your home. So, my dear friends, that important thing or prospective woman who is going to be a partner with you, you need to get loan from them. Probably today to start up, if you go and check all the enterprises, these enterprises were never supported by the government in the past 60 years. These enterprises are built with sheer blood and sweat of the entrepreneur. I can tell you, I went and surveyed Tirupur. When I surveyed Tirupur, I went and referred Boston Consulting Group's report. If I'm saying Indian reports, people don't believe. That's a problem. I referred the Boston Consulting Group's report. When I referred that, Boston Consulting Group was doing a market study about the knitwear industry of the world. Then they found 46% of the knitwear comes from a place called Tirupur. They thought it is from near Japan or something. Then they squared, but those days, Google Maps were not available. Understand? Immediately when I say Tirupur, yes sir, they should have Googled, no. Google Map, they would have checked, no, that mind will come. Please take out that. I'm talking about 20 years story, before 20 years. So they went and checked the Atlas. You all remember, I hope you all know about Atlas. There's something called Atlas where you used to go and check. Then they checked the Atlas, then they found that Tirupur was in India. Then they squared and checked, Tirupur was in Tamil Nadu. Then they checked what is the nearest city and they checked whether it's a metro city. They found that in Tirupur, when they surveyed and checked from there, they checked Tirupur as only one-lane road. And it is near a place called Coimbatore. And when they checked in Coimbatore, what is the education institution they can approach so that they can have access, then they found some old education institution called PhD Institute of Management. Then they approached there and they did not approach PhD Institute of Management for doing any survey. They approached PhD Institute of Management to book a cab. And they went there, they went to Tirupur with the help of the professors, they did a study and they were astonished to find where in the world of Harvards and Stanfords to create multi-crore business, they found that 60% of entrepreneurs in Tirupur are not even 8th standard or not even 8th standard. And today what is the turnover of Tirupur? As per the last month's report, it is 45,000 crore turnover from Tirupur, a small place. And they are looking at scaling up to 1 lakh crore. That is the report they have given. And they have categorized Tirupur as vibrant Tirupur. They have handed out the report through CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, to the Prime Minister of India. And this is the statistics. And don't think Tirupur is the only example. Go to Sangagiri. I went to Sangagiri and I surveyed about 40 transporters. Then I found 40 transporters were not born as transporters. They were born in a poor family where they did not even get 1 square meal per day, probably below the poverty line. They worked as a cleaners in the lorries, and subsequently these 40 entrepreneurs whom I interviewed today own not less than 300 vehicles of lorries and transport vehicles. And they also own Taurus vehicle which is used for borewells. Sangagiri is known for that. Even if you go to Arunachal Pradesh, 2000 feet borewell will be done by our own Sangagiri vehicles. And this is the profile of Sangagiri. Coming back to your own Namakkal, the 3000 transporters are my good clients now. And when I went there, I found that Namakkal is Asia's second largest transport hub. And you will find them very, very humble. Not like us with a suit and boot and we get from angel investor. Actually, we are in debt. But we will be high-fiving, going in business class. But these people will go in auto rickshaws, go and stay in platforms. I was interacting with the entrepreneur whose turnover is about 2,000 crore. I asked him, sir, you go for a lot of customer meetings. How do you go? I just wanted to know, what is your way of life? Then he said, Satya, I will, generally if I go by train, morning meeting will be there at 10:30. I used to get on in the train, go to the AC waiting hall, and then take bath there and dress up and go. Even now. Even now. Let's assume that you make 2000 crore. What you will do? You will probably go to the business class, get on, you expect your Benz or Audi or Jocko to come and pick you up. This is not entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is about being humble to create value to the society. It should be inclusive. It should be socially inclusive so that everybody becomes successful. It is in entrepreneurship, it is not you. When you are an entrepreneur and when you become a leader, it is not you, it is others who are centric to the business. This is a very, very fundamental thing. I thought only Tamil Nadu is like this. And Tirupur is one example, Erode is one example. Erode is also, for example, turmeric and construction companies are from Erode. Coimbatore, textile and education institutions. And Chennai is also has its own story, but mostly Chennai people are employment oriented or service oriented. And when I went and checked in Gujarat, and I found astonishing figures. In Rajkot, when I went and interacted with some of the entrepreneurs, he is one of the top manufacturer of one of the diesel engines in India. I asked him, how did he start this entrepreneurship journey? He went on to tell a story where his grandfather got one of the German manufactured machine. He actually checked how he can manufacture the same thing, basically the duplicate. And he dismantled and he tried to emulate the same model and the same brand. He inserted type. For example, license sheet, type. And type was in italics, small. So the branding was almost like the foreign brand, but it was an Indian brand with a type as one of the add-on. And today, Rajkot has seen in the past 15 years 800% development, and everybody will interact there. All the people are entrepreneurs almost, and they are the best today. And they don't know English, but today they actually export to Saudi Arabia. They have joint ventures with China. I went to a place called Morbi, where I found that you know about this Ajanta clock and Same clocks, right? And these are all manufactured in Morbi, and Morbi people, entrepreneurs, have entered into joint venture to the Chinese company for the new technology. Can you imagine that the people who don't even know English are able to cut through boundaries and enter into joint venture? How is it possible? It is about the leadership, inclusive leadership. If you are able to think inclusive, only then you are leader. When you aspire your name to be there, or rather you aspire about your position in any organization, you are not a leader, you are actually a trainee, you still need to mature. And second important thing you need to understand is the three important sector which is going to play a major role where you can focus your career on in India. Of course, these areas are not now very attractive places to work on, but these three places where you can work on in the new India is your agriculture, 2 is your healthcare, 3 is education. I always have one question. Why in India, education is run as a trust? As a chartered accountant, I always question conventions, in any conferences, any meetings, wherever I go. You allow the companies to list their shares. You allow them to make profit out of it. What's wrong in making education as one of the profitable business? And you go and question this convention, nobody will have an answer. You can go and ask even to the government. Government also does not have. They will tell you that they are also thinking to change the structure of the education. But why is it taking long? Today, education has to be more profitable where the public participation has to be there. I will tell you, education is one of the future of the nation, and this is where you should focus also. It is one of the great potential for you to transform. Today, I can bet, today at least I am sure Loyola Institute of Business Administration has its own syllabus, but the syllabus of the UGC, the syllabus of the AICT is completely outdated. And 28th last week they reviewed the new syllabus of engineering. When I looked at the new syllabus of the engineering also, it is 3 years outdated. And this can only be transformed to the autonomous status provided to the institution. Today you are getting the best education because of your professors, because of your institution, because they think through what is applicable to you. They have the flexibility to bring and give you what you want. In institutions where the government has a major role, There, you can't even organize a guest lecture, extra guest lecture from the people. You need to get permissions for bringing extra courses. But the autonomy is very, very important with governance by the government, not government intervention. What is required in the education sector from the leadership of the government is not intervention. Minimum government, maximum governance should be there in the education institution. I am sure the next 5 years, education is one of the flourishing sector. It is not attractive right now. When your parents are going to ask you, where are you working? You are proud to say that you are working for Barclays. You are proud to say that you are working for Goldman Sachs. And you are proud to say that you are working for investment bank. But remember, the education sector has a larger role to play and there is the opportunity. Second is your agriculture. The most fundamental thing in the nation has been neglected. Can you imagine? Today, you and me actually work for your hunger. But we forgot that there is someone who is actually suiciding in the agriculture sector because, not because of the loan, that may be one of the factor, but because it does not have market access. It does not have market access. I was just surveying. In Uttar Pradesh, the potatoes are thrown out in the road because there is no market. But in Tamil Nadu at the same time, about 1 kg is about 30 rupees or 40 rupees. Can you imagine? There is no market there, but there's a market here. If somebody is able to provide a market in Tamil Nadu without much middleman commission, then the agriculturalists there are going to be benefited. And people are also going to get benefited. The technology, the data and artificial intelligence will play a major role in reforming agriculture. So agriculture is the second important sector. The third important sector, which is a primary sector for you and me to be alive, is your healthcare sector. Today, I was just in the morning reading through the book written by Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. In the book Vision 2020 and Beyond, when he is discussing about the healthcare industry, I can understand that in our nation, only one doctor is available for 1,000 people. And this statistics, when I check the recent statistics, this book is about 2013. That's when he has updated. Post that it was not updated. I checked the recent statistics, then I found it is about 0.7:1. That means the average has got reduced. There is an immediate requirement on the health sector to be focused. You need not be a doctor to actually become a healthcare entrepreneur. All that you need to know is the problem in the nation. And one of my friend from Delhi is actually started an ambulance service, private ambulance service. I asked him, why did you start a private ambulance service? Sir, nothing. And I found a statistics where anybody who gets an heart attack in India, the average time it takes to reach is 10 hours hospital. Average time. And this is the condition of healthcare in India. There is a requirement today to actually have produced a lot of paramedical professionals. We cannot produce doctors because the current regulation of the government does not allow. But government does not restrict on the nurses or a paramedical professional. All that we need today in the rural India is the one bed, one paramedical professional who can take care of the general public health of the people with a small hospital facility, and the access can be given to the doctors through digitalization, where doctors can consult directly to these locations. There's a great opportunity which is available because 130 crore population has to be catered in the healthcare sector. This is the phases of New India. These are the three important sectors. Whether you believe it or not, these are the three important sectors which is going to transform the nation in the next 5 years. As a youth of this nation, your role is only in these three sectors going forward. In fact, I also was checking the model of US and model of India. And when I checked why the Israel is also an entrepreneurial country, then I found that when the youth gets educated there, the first thing that they do there is to become a professor or a academician when they get educated. Because what they feel is when they get educated, they can transform the knowledge to the students, and students will start up and they will become a board of director in their company. So indirectly, they're also entrepreneurs who inspire the entrepreneurs. And second thing they do is, not so interested or a bit dull in academics, they go for entrepreneurship in US and Israel. The third important thing that they do is, they actually, if they don't enter the entrepreneurship, they don't enter the academics, they actually enter the employment because they may have arrears, they did not complete the education. Or people, while they're pursuing the education, they're so confident on their product, they leave their education and then pursue the entrepreneurship. For example, Google, for example, Microsoft, they did not waste their time. They pursued the entrepreneurship, they had belief on their concept, they worked on it, and they scaled up their enterprise. But in India, I checked the model. What do we do when we get educated? First thing, we expect the education institutions to be the placement agency. Today, education institutions are not evaluated based on the professors. To be very fair, it's my survey. What the students do is, they evaluate the education institution based on the logos of the company, what appear in that education institution. Second, they evaluate and check what is the first paycheck they will get so that they can enter into the EMI world, equated monthly installment world. I will talk about that concept shortly. And this model what in Indian economic education system is, you get graduated, first thing is you look at employment. If you have arrears, then you don't know what to do, what to say to the society, then you say, I will become a real estate broker. This is a fact. And third, no problem, you cleared the arrears, then business did not take off. You are a professor in the same college where you studied. This model cannot work out, and this will not make India a great nation. What is required is the professors, you should enter, the professor whom you inspire, get inspired, you should actually look at becoming an entrepreneur so that you can be part of the entrepreneurship journey. And this is a fundamental thing which I wanted to drive here today. And the last important thing, today youth ask me wherever I go, sir, you are talking about entrepreneurship, where is the fund available and all those things. In fact, this was the same thought process that the Indian government had. And the Indian government brought this Mudra scheme with that mindset. What happened in the past 60 years, we were okay funding the large corporates. And what happened, these large corporates got funding. They used the fund for whatever the purpose they got it. And finally, when they are not able to pay, they went to UK and they never came back. And now, but what happened is, there is a segment called micro, small and medium enterprises. I don't know how many of them know. This constitutes 93.5% of employment generation in India. The micro, small and medium enterprises constitutes 93.5% of employment opportunity in India. But this segment was neglected by the financial institution. But today, through Mudra Bank, this segment is targeted by the government because government believes that this is a profitable segment. You look at, for example, Equitas. You look at, for example, Bandhan Bank. All these banks are highly profitable because they don't fund to the top corporates, but they fund for the bottom of the pyramid. That is to the micro, small and medium enterprises. Who are these micro, small and medium enterprises? It's not you and me who are actually the torchbearers of this country. It is actually the tea seller, the vegetable vendors. If you go and check his finance, the way he gets financed, it is through this Kandu Vaddi and Meter Vaddi and Speed Vaddi. And this goes for about 46%. Even there are cases where I checked where about 2,500% also is charged as interest because